A very warm welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 15th August 2020. So first of all, I would like to wish all my dear friends, all my dear viewers, a very, very happy Independence Day. With this, dear friends, StudyIQ team has created various different smart courses. All smart courses are available on our mobile application. You can download our mobile application from Google Play Store. The good news is that at present, Independence Day sale is going on and we are providing 5% extra discount on all our smart courses. Keep this thing in mind that 17th August is the last date for this offer. To download the PDF of today's lecture, check out my Telegram channel. On our table, we have 4 important articles to go through. The first one is about Israel and UAE's New Deal. And then we are going to talk about this whole region, this West Asian region. 73 years of freedom. This article is from Times of India. Very interesting article. This article is presenting this paradox in which we are living in our country, right? When I say paradox, I'm talking about these two extremes that we have in our country. We find one of the most expensive house in the world in our country. At the same time, we find one of the biggest slum in Asia in our country as well, in the same city, in fact. Gaps in the casting of India's foreign policy. This article is written by a former ambassador, and he is revealing so many facts, right? Very interesting article again for your overall understanding about geopolitics and so many other things. And then the last one is about privacy, data management, and this article is talking about a need for an internet ombudsman. And then we have some news as well. So let's start our discussion with this one, limited peace. Limited peace, this is about a new peace agreement that took place between Israel and UAE, that is United Arab Emirates. And US played a very important, in fact, President Trump played a very important role in making sure that this deal becomes a reality, or discussion turns into a reality, into finally a peace agreement. So first of all, let us locate where we find these two nations. So here is United Arab Emirates, and this here you find Israel. Now, dear friends, a big map of Israel is on your screen, so you can see this whole portion. Let me use a laser point, right? So this whole golden sort of color is Israel's land, and then you have this portion here. This is called West Bank. So this whole region belongs to Palestine, and then Palestine has its small strip. It's called Gaza Strip. So this portion here and this portion here makes Palestine, and the rest of the portion is Israel. Now, if you see this region here, this is called Golan Heights, and this particular region at present is under Israel's control. Now, USA and Israel, they share a very close relationship with each other. USA was the first country to recognize Jerusalem as capital of Israel. Then it was followed by Australia. As far as India is concerned, right, our embassy is not in Jerusalem. Our embassy is in Tel Aviv, and there are so many other countries, their embassies are in Tel Aviv, because Jerusalem is a very important place for Muslims, for Christians, and for Jews. And still, this issue is going on between Palestine and Israel, that Jerusalem belongs to whom, right? To Israel or Palestine. So still things are not clear, but Mr. Trump was the first president to do this thing, that he transferred USA's embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And as far as this Golan Height is concerned, this was taken over by Israel in 1967's Six-Day War. It is also known as Israel or Arab-Israel War. So this area used to be part of Syria, but now it is controlled by Israel, and USA has said that the sovereignty over Golan Heights is of Israel. So officially this part, as per USA, Golan Heights belongs to Israel. Again, you find the mention of Golan Heights in Jewish texts, religious texts, as well as Bible and other places. Okay, so this was a background about things so far, and USA and Israel's relationship. Now, as per this latest deal, UAE would recognize that Israel is a country. And this may sound a bit strange, but I will throw some more light on this thing, because let me start with it. Let's turn a few pages here and there. So this whole thing started, means Israel came into existence back in 1949. I have that thing written somewhere, can't find it. Okay, yeah, here we go. Sorry, it's 1948. So Arab-Israel relations have largely been conflict-ridden ever since the State of Israel was declared back in 1948. So Palestinian people, they are not happy with Israel. They are saying that this whole region belonged to Palestinian people, and then Israel formed, Israeli people or Jewish people. They declared this portion as their own independent country back in 1948. Britain used to rule this part of the world. I'm not going into too much history, but Israel came into existence in 1948, and since then, Palestine versus Israel, this sort of situation has been going on. There have been so many wars as well in this region. Egypt, Jordan, then Syria and other Arabic countries attacking Israel, and Israel winning them, and so many things have gone through in this region. So overall, in a nutshell, there was this situation that Muslims versus Jews, right? This situation was quite prevalent here, and at present it's not about religion, but it is more about politics and other things. Anyway, so since 1948, Arab-Israel relations have been very bad, conflict-ridden, and now finally we find that UAE has finally said that, okay, we accept this fact that Israel is a country. Second thing that we are going to develop, means they are going to develop diplomatic relations with each other. On Israel's side, Israel would halt its controversial plan to annex swathes of Palestinian West Bank. What Israel has been doing for a very long period of time, as per Palestine, that they are, they are controlling, taking over few areas, and then they are building households over there, residential properties and other things, and then they will control some more area, and then they will. So basically, they are eating away this portion of West Bank. That's what Palestine has been saying. So Israel has said that we are going to halt this process under this latest peace agreement. So this agreement is called a landmark agreement because USA is UAE is the only third Arab country and the first in the Gulf region recognizing Israel. And Mr. Trump is going to be very happy about this thing because he has something to show to his voters back in USA that say USA is winning diplomatically in various different parts of the world. But the reality is that when it comes to Iran, North Korea and Afghanistan, things are still out of control. But this Israel UAE deal is considered as a diplomatic victory for Mr. Trump. Finally, he has sorted out something. Now, one more interesting thing that we find here in this part of the world is you have three different powers here. One is Israel, that is a Jewish state. Then you have Saudi Arabia, and other countries are part of Saudi Arabia team. They are known as Sunni countries. And then you have Iran and other countries that are part of Shia group. So they are Shia countries. So here two powerful players are, as far as Muslims are concerned, you find one Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims. And they have problems with each other for a very long period of time based on religion, based on who is going to dominate this region, who is going to be the wealthier nation, who is going to be technologically more advanced, who is going to be militarily more mighty. So there are so many things. It's not just religion is the most visible thing, but there are so many other things that are going on over here. So this friendship between, and then we have one more interesting angle here, that as I told you, USA and Israel, they have good relationship. Saudi Arabia and USA, good relationship. Iran and USA, not good relationship. So what we can find here is that slowly we can see Sunni Arab countries are getting along with Israel, and Israel is again an arch enemy of Iran. So we find this triangle here where you have on one side you have Iran, on the other side you have Israel, and then you find Sunni countries. And then they are supported by USA. So this is going to be a new reality in this part of the world. Israel has said that it will focus on expanding ties with other countries in the Arab and Muslim world. USA has said that this is a new starting with this UAE-Israel deal. We are going to see other Arab countries. They are going to follow the same thing. They are going to join this. They will have partnership with Israel or friendship with Israel, and then we can see gradually this whole area will change. This deal has the potential to change Arab-Israeli relationship for good. For good means forever. Arab countries are gradually decoupling themselves from Palestinian question or Palestinian cause. They used to support this Palestine because they have this, Muslim or what do we say, a sort of fraternity with Muslim country Palestine. But now other things are more important, and now they are means few countries accepting, like Jordan, I think, was the first country to accept Israel as a country. Then the third one is this UAE. I'm not sure about the second one. To be honest, I can't remember the name. Not sure. Anyway, it's not that important. But there are some new emerging realities in West Asia. Arab-Israel conflict is going to end, but the reality is that Palestine-Israel conflict is not going to end, because I was going through this news, global news, and there were some Palestinian people. They were saying that they will never ever, and the next generations as well, they will never ever get along with Israel because their land is taken away, and there are so many other things. So it's very complex, this whole situation. But things are moving on. Let's hope for peace for the whole region and for the whole world. Moving on to next item, but before that, please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. If you learned something from today's discussion, hit the like button, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. 73 years of freedom. It's definitely a matter of pride for our country, for every one of us, that we are a very good example that we are living in a democratic country, and our country is huge, 1.3 billion population. We are the world's largest democracy. There are so many countries that cannot even think, and even if they are not here, and many times you find people from various different parts of the world, when they come here in India, they feel they are awestruck. They cannot imagine, or they don't know how this country is going on. It looks nearly impossible for this many people to live under one system, but here we are, right? We are living under this system from last 74 years, isn't it? Last general election, 600 million voters took part. We have total, last time we had 911 million voters. Out of that, 600 million people voted. That is huge. But unfortunately, money and muscle power are still success factors in elections, and we have talked about it many a times. Horse trading, buying legislatures. This is something that is getting more and more severe. You have to lock up your MLAs in exotic resorts, or else they will be purchased by other political party. Caste and political dynasties are realities, right? Congress, then even in BJP, you find so many MPs, their kids or their sons and daughters, they are part of active politics, or they reach high table because they are part of their parents were in politics. And it's not just about BJP and Congress, but if you travel from north to south and east to west, I don't know any single party in which you don't find this sort of political dynasties. Constitutionally autonomous institutions are under threat. Tolerance. Now, I'm not happy with this word called tolerance. The reason is we are not tolerant. When I say we are not tolerant, I'm not saying it in a negative way. The thing is, tolerance is something that I don't like you, but then as well I am tolerating you, that okay, you can live here, or okay, you can stay here. So that is tolerance. We are not tolerant, or we are not tolerate, right? Our culture is about acceptance. Tolerance is limited. Acceptance is one level up, that we accept various different faiths, various different ways of living, right? So I don't know why media people and newspapers, they are using this word tolerance, but I think tolerance is not the right word. This is my personal opinion. Acceptance is the right word for our culture. We have accepted ideas and things and religions and faiths and way of doing things and way of praying and so many things in our country since 2,000, 3,000 years. So Parliament, a very important temple of democracy. We find fighting and shouting, and Parliament is there for discussion, for a solid discussion. But that is becoming rare these days. Some good points. We are world's 5th largest economy by nominal GDP and 3rd largest by purchasing power parity. but inequality is deep-rooted in our country. Richest one person in India, they own 58.4% of country's wealth. Richest 10%, 80.7% of India's wealth is controlled by top 10%. But you see, on the other side, bottom 10% of the nation, they own just 0.2%. So economic inequality, and because of economic inequality, too much of poverty, you find so many. Poverty is considered as mother of all ills, isn't it? Because when you're poor, you cannot afford health, you cannot afford education, you cannot afford a good house, and then hygiene standards, and then there are so many other things. All these things you can get rid of if you can bring out people from poverty, and that's what India did back in 2000. From 2005 to 16, we have lifted some 270 million people out of poverty, and that is a big achievement. 270 million people is a big thing, but still, unfortunately, we have world's largest number of abjectly poor people. As per IMF, when it comes to per capita income in 2019, India lags at 139th country in the world. China is at rank 45. India is ranked second worldwide in terms of farm output, first in the world in net cropped area, world's largest milk producer, second largest producer of wheat and rice. But still, when it comes to global hunger index, our rank is very bad, 102 out of 117 countries. Half of our workforce is employed in agriculture, 50%. Let's say if you have 100 people and your GDP is 100 rupees, so what it looks like is that 50 people are producing items worth 16 rupees only. So if you distribute the 16 rupees in 50 people, then you know they are not going to get even 1 rupee. It's going to be somewhere around 50 paisa or less than that. So that's a basic explanation or basic rough example of how it works in when 50% of population is engaged in agriculture, that is producing or adding just 16% to national GDP. Only 35% of our land is irrigated. So rest is 65%. You have to rely on rain. Too much rain is going to destroy your crop. Less rain is going to destroy your crop. So fate of 65% agricultural land is totally on nature, and we know climate change and other things are going on. When it comes to ease of doing business, we have done great. We used to be 149th position back in 2014, but now we are at 63. But still, when it comes to starting a business, we are just above Mozambique and Afghanistan. In New Delhi, to open a restaurant, you require 26 licenses and 45 documents to obtain clearance from the police alone. In China, you need just 4 licenses. Manufacturing units, they have to follow some 6,976 compliance items. Enforcement of contract takes nearly 4 years in our country. It takes just 1.2 or 1.4 years in Indonesia and China respectively. Our goods take 7 to 10 days to reach a port. In China as well as Bangladesh, it takes just 1 day to reach a port. Registering a property, 58 days. Solving a commercial dispute, 1,445 days. We have good entrepreneurs, but still so many people are lacking. They don't have jobs, and we have failed, I would say, or we have not succeeded would be the right word, in creating global brands. We have world-class doctors. We have engineers, scientists, some of the best in the world, but unfortunately we are victim of a brain drain. So many of our talented people, they don't find opportunities here, so they leave our country and they are working for some other nations and other organizations. New education policy has many positive features, and we have some of the best hospitals, but we find so many people, even they are covered by Ayushman Bharat, they are still not getting all the necessary health care. We are preparing to send mission to the moon. This is an example of our scientific as well as space excellence. But still, we are struggling with so many basic things in our country. Basic items are not available. We have this. We are one of the most ancient civilization in the world, and even today there are so many things that we can learn from our past. And there are so many things that traditional people can learn from modernity, but traditional versus modernity is something that we find rather than a bridge between traditionality and modernity. We proclaim fealty to egalitarianism. Egalitarian means everyone is equal, but still when we think, our thinking is hierarchical, right? We want to live in a world that is equal, but when we meet someone, when we visit someone, then we are hierarchical, isn't it? We think about what is his rank, or who am I and who is he, and this sort of things are going on in our country for a very long period of time. So event means at the end of the discussion, it all depends. If you are seeing India as half empty glass or a glass that is half full, I see it as glass half full. We were in a very bad situation. Now we are getting better. I'm not sure when we will become best. I'm not sure whether there is anything called best, but I think getting better and better is the way ahead, and that's what we need to do as a nation as well as society. Moving on to next item. This article is written by T.P. Srinivasan. He is former ambassador of India. And in this article, he is, unveiling so many things, so many realities that will push you to think. At present, we know LSE issue is going on. Then Nepal has created some cartographic aggression or issues. Iran-China relationship growing. Russia-China relationship. Pakistan, perennial enemy. Financial crisis are going on. Then we know this COVID-19 crisis, and because of that we are going to see so many things, and financial crisis, and so many people are in a very bad situation. So many things are going back to drawing board, and government is of course going to make some corrective changes whenever it is possible. Now the question is, what is going to be the shape of the world after COVID-19? We don't know, but we have to be flexible enough to mitigate any sort of threats, or to duck any threats, and to grab opportunities that will be available after this COVID-19 pandemic is over. The most interesting thing here is number 1, 2 and 3 on your screen. See, when it comes to geopolitics, the real situation is, we don't know what real situation is. It is only known to those people who are working at the very top of the government. And this is a reality, right? And I'm not talking about just India. It's not just about India. This is around the world, right? All countries, they do this thing. Real situation is only known to most important people who are working at the very high level of government. Second is official version. What is reality and what you want to tell, right? I'll give you an example. When flights, when they get delayed, right? The airport will not say that flight is delayed. They will not say that it is late. They will not use that late, delayed. They see it as negative words. What they say is that it has been rescheduled. They use it so nicely that it will create, you are going to wait at the airport, but if they say it is late, it may send a negative message. But if you say rescheduled, then it may sound, okay, it's rescheduled, So they play with the words. So official version is it's like a gift. It is wrapped with proper words. And then there is a rosy picture that everything is great, and we are buying fighter jets, and we have good relationship with Russia, and we can do this and that with that country, and we can do this. All these things are going on. So media and so many people, they play a role in making this rosy picture look more red or more pink in this case. The dream world gets disrupted occasionally when we find this sort of LSE and other issues. Then we, again there is a panic and things, but then again this rosy picture is presented in front of us, and then we again, we indulge in this rosy picture and things like that. Because if you see, we say that this Wuhan spirit and this Chennai Connect, Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping's informal meeting, and they were considered that quite successful and so many things, and India and China can work out things. But then we saw this LAC issue. This issue is already going on, but we are saying that we are winning and we are giving them befitting reply. Here this article is talking about 1962, when we asked the Soviet Union to help us. It refused us. It said that one out of you two, like China and India, one is our brother, one is our friend, so we are not going to step into it. We are going to stay out of it. we are purchasing 60% of arms from Russia, and this is not sustainable for us. Then this talk is going on about United Nations Security Council, that it is going to get expanded, and we are going to be part of UNSC permanent member. We will get veto power, but this is all rosy picture. If you ask most of the countries of United Nations, right, they will say that they don't want any sort of veto power. They want to get rid of this veto power rather than giving it to one more country. Former foreign minister has recently clarified that there was no offer of a permanent seat to India during the days of Jawaharlal Nehru, hopefully ending the speculation on that score. A few days ago, we were talking about this letter, remember, that was written by Vijayalakshmi Pandit to his brother, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, and this article was printed a few days ago. And you see here, this writer is saying that there was no offer like that. A former secretary has said this thing. So I'm not sure about this thing, to be honest, but it's it's quite interesting, isn't it, to note this thing that a former secretary has said that there was no offer like that. As far as NSG is concerned, Nuclear Suppliers Group, now it was created to stop India because India did a nuclear test in 1974. So this organization was formed to stop a country like India. And here, if we are thinking that we will become part of it, it looks like Russia becoming part of NATO. It's equivalent to that. So that's not going to happen. When it comes to America and India's nuclear deal, we hear this thing for a very long period of time that 6 nuclear reactors will be set up in Andhra Pradesh. But if you go and study USA's foreign policy, then you find that Clinton White House, or when Bill Clinton was president, at that point of time, it was presumed, or it was believed, and this thing is still there, that if you go ahead and if you give items to India, this deal is basically India is going to use this deal to buy things from other countries, and this is something that USA should never allow to take place. So they are never selling us, and we are not going ahead with it. So this thing is going on. We talk about it whenever we meet, but nothing happens on it. So it's all about creating that rosy picture. So again, look at it from this point number 1, 2, and 3. Real situation is totally different. Official version is different, and rosy picture is altogether different. Last one is about democracy needs an internet ombudsman. Why we need internet ombudsman? The thing is, I'm going to be very brief here, right? The thing is, when it comes to data protection, when it comes to privacy, when it comes to things associated with big information and data and big data and information asymmetry and things, what we find is government as well as companies, they are controlling data, they are collecting data, they are using data, they are making money out of it. And here is a very interesting thing, that we have banned this 59 Chinese apps. Okay, so it was a big news, and we talked about it in detail, and how, India said that official statement was that it was harmful for our security. So the question is, was there no security or privacy audit? Means after this LOC, we are talking about security and privacy audit. What before that? No one talked about it. Then Facebook and Amazon, they are facing scrutiny in USA. But here they are still going on. They are working very well. If something goes wrong with USA, then we'll talk about Facebook and Amazon, and they're stealing data and other things. And then we'll say that this is national security security issue, and we cannot let it happen. And then we'll ban them as well. So it's all about being reactive rather than being proactive. Supreme Court has clearly stated in this Puthaswamy case that privacy is a fundamental right, but our Indian government has filed an affidavit in Supreme Court saying that data information or privacy and data privacy cannot be a fundamental right. Data privacy, informational privacy and data privacy cannot be a fundamental right. Can you believe this thing? On one side, Supreme Court is saying privacy is your fundamental right. On the other side, government is saying that informational privacy and data privacy cannot be a fundamental right. So this thing is going on, but you can clearly understand what government is trying to do. Government is trying to control data. Companies are trying to control and sell data and make money out of it. If you follow this CERT, that is cybersecurity watchdog of our country, it has said that there is a huge data theft from Facebook and Twitter. 1.3 million credit card and debit card details were stolen from Indian banks. 6.8 million users from an Indian healthcare website were stolen in the same year, that is last year. Privacy data analytics, right? They are collecting our data and then they are selling it to political parties, and they are selling it to other companies, and they are using it for political messaging. So all these things are going on, and still we are saying that we'll come out with a personal data protection bill that is stuck in Parliament since 2018. Nothing is taking place here, and then you find this section 35, which gives extraordinary power to the government, that government can access any data it wants anytime. So here it looks like government is again trying to control rather than protect people's privacy. So this is the reason why we need one internet ombudsman. Internet ombudsman is going to be like an ideal internet ombudsman is going to be independent from government's control. The people who will be appointed, they are going to be impartial, fair, just people with good track record, with good knowledge, right? And we don't have any shortage of this sort of people. All we need to do is create a system where we can allow, or a system that can allow best people to reach at the top. Right, we don't have that thing. We have talent, but we don't have that system that will allow that talented person or that good person or that right person to reach at right place. That's the problem. So we need to create that system, and then we will have one internet ombudsman that will keep an eye on all these sort of things. And if something is going against, something is not constitutional, something is breaching our privacy, then of course it can take action. News items, dear friends, you have few news item pages here. I want you guys to download the PDF and go through it, and that's everything from my side. I'll see you with daily financial news analysis. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.